I don't know what they're talking about.
This that way for those that come in late or whatnot. I know Vice Mayor White, we invited Mayor Kraft. I don't know if she has a scheduling conflict, but we can share the recording with her as well so that she can know what's going on.
Okay.
But again, I want to thank everybody. We're going to go ahead and have everybody introduce themselves because not everybody may know who is who on here. So I'm going to go ahead and just call out your name and then go ahead and introduce yourself rather than having that awkward, well, which Hollywood Square is going next? So my name is Wolfgang Krosky. I'm the CEO of the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, a lifelong resident, and also a business owner here. Leanne?
I'm a Pittsburgh Chamber Director of Operations and Communications. I've been here for a couple years now, almost 3.
Awesome. Vice Mayor White?
Holland White, Vice Mayor for the City of Pittsburgh and member of the Economic Development Subcommittee.
Awesome. Mr. Garrison?
Bob Garrison, Sierra Pacific Properties. Manage a few properties in Pittsburgh for the last 16 years.
Awesome. Let's see, Mr. Berger?
Okay. Yeah, Bob Berger. I'm the owner of the Pittsburgh Town Center on Railroad Avenue.
All right, Miss Baldazzo.
Hi, I'm Tony Baldazzo. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Pittsburgh Police Department. I've been with the agency 20 years, and I am in charge of Business Watch, Neighborhood Watch, and outreach to the community.
All right. Mr. Evans.
Garrett Evans, City Manager, City Pittsburgh. I'm still chuckling at the thought of Bob only having a few properties that he manages in Pittsburgh, but happy to be here any way I can help.
Awesome. Let's see, Ms. Gaskin with the Walmart.
Hi, my name is Rachel Gaskin. I'm the people lead at Walmart in Pittsburgh. I've been with the company in July will be 25 years.
And last but not least, Ms. Chapman.
Hi, Tara Chapman. I am the Member Relations Coordinator here at the Chamber, and I will have been here 3 years on Saturday, actually.
All right, and then looks like we have another participant from the Walmart. If they can go ahead and introduce themselves, or it looks like you might have 2 people there. I see another chair moving.
How you guys doing? I'm Assistant Manager Johnny here at Walmart.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Samantha, and I'm a team lead here at Walmart.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you everybody for coming here this afternoon. And the purpose of this meeting is we are, and when I say we, the Chamber and the Police Department have worked together to kind of revamp the Pittsburgh Business Watch here. And we have set a regular schedule of the 3rd Thursday of every month. And we wanted to have a pre-meeting before the February meeting. The reason why is that we would like to have policymakers attending our February meeting, and we wanted to make sure that nobody feels set up, caught off guard. We know what's going to be talked about. We understand the format of the February meeting because we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. What we are going to do in the traditional model, we would have a guest speaker or city staff, policymakers. We would have police, whoever it may be, presenting. Business owners would then ask questions, vent, complain, however you want to word it. And then the meeting would end. And then next quarter, the meeting might start again. And we kind of go through that. And was thinking, is that moving the needle? Are we getting the progress that we need here in Pittsburgh? And I would say that the business community and the laws and all the changes that have taken place, we have to do it in a different way. So what we thought we would do is for this February meeting, we would flip the roles a little bit. We would actually put the businesses kind of in the hot seat and allow police, city staff, our elected officials, for them to ask the questions. Because what a lot of business owners and representative businesses may or may not know is that, Mr. White, Vice Mayor, his scope of authority is only this wide, but yet we want this much, and we have lots of questions, and his ability is only so much. Mr. Evans, City Manager, again, same thing. The police department, it's probably more like this now. So how do we align everything? And then more importantly, as a business community, what is our role in trying to help these different, our different partners in addressing the same thing? Because we all want the same thing in Pittsburgh. We want flourishing businesses. The city needs flourishing businesses because that's, you know, sales tax revenue. Business owners and representative businesses need flourishing businesses because that's where our heart and joy is. These are places that we take pride in and we want the best there. The police obviously want to have safe places for people to shop and to spend money. So we all want the same thing, but we all have a different slice of the pie. So doing it in this new format, we're hoping we'll be able to move the needle forward, because those on city council, they're going to ask the questions that are in their wheelhouse where they might have the ability to influence change, and PD and city staff, et cetera. So what I wanted to do today is a little bit, not necessarily brainstorming, but to kind of hear from the businesses some of the general areas that are major concerns. That way PD, city staff, and our council can then have a little bit of time to think of questions and do a little bit of research on their end, so that when we meet later this month, it's just going to be a much more effective meeting. Because as we talked about last month in January, something's got to change. You know, I don't know if you've seen in the news, but 2 large retailers in San Francisco, they are closing and leaving and they specifically said because of crime. We had a fire today behind one of Bob's properties. Hopefully Bob knew that. I'm not breaking the news on him, but again, that was unhoused residents. And one of the terms that I want to have this group change is to get away from saying quality of life crimes, because we in the business community understand what that means, but those outside think that we're saying that our lives are more important than their lives, right? And that's not the case. So changing it to maybe quality of customer experience, that's what we want to improve the customer experience. It's not that we think that our lives or our customers' lives are more important than those that may be causing us headaches, but we want to make sure that our customers are having a good experience. So I think by changing some of our wording, it'll also help us frame our questions and, you know, look at how we can help everybody and where we all fit in. So with that, I would like to actually start with Walmart, because they weren't at our last meeting, so they're here now. So let's, at Walmart, what are, if you could boil it down to like the top 2 or 3 issues that you're facing at your location?
One of the things I'll say is probably the homeless. That's a big deal. I know Motel 6 being next door could possibly be the cause of some of that. And the death, of course, you know, right before closing. We close at 11 p.m., usually about 10:30, close to 11. You get all the riffraff coming in to try to get you right before you close. So it's, at those times, it's really dangerous and hectic here at Walmart.
And when you say homeless, just so we understand what complications that's bringing, what specifically is those that are homeless, what kind of issues are you seeing specifically?
So they're, you know, they come, I understand, you know, they're on the streets, they don't have nothing to eat, but it's the theft. They might even come in here, shower in the bathrooms. They're really violent towards the associates here. It's really unsafe at night with the homeless. They're really extreme.
And we, on a daily or weekly basis, we always have like cars coming, like it could be anywhere from 2 to 4 cars parked next to each other. It looks like a chop shop. So they'll like flatten all the tires, you know, take all, what do they take? The Cadillac converters. Multiple associates have gotten their Cadillac converters taken, and you know, we try to call tow company, they won't take them out. A lot of times the police, you know, are unable to do anything because they're living in those vehicles. But every week it's different vehicles all parked next to each other.
So while people are shopping or working at Walmart, their catalytic converters are getting stolen while they're shopping.
It only takes a couple seconds. So when
Wow.
they see our security drive around the back of the store, they're done by the time they're back around.
Okay.
Is there a window that more often occurs? Sounds like at night, but I just.
Yeah, usually at night, I would say anywhere between nightfall and closing. So we close at 11 p.m. And like she stated, they're just huddling in the parking lot at this point, and it's, you know, it's out of our hands. Our hands are tied. What can we do? We've reported to PD, you know, and there's nothing they can do. Like she said, they're living out of the car, but it affects our customers. It affects the business. You know, they go elsewhere because of it's just dangerous here at night.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Berger, what are the top priorities that you're seeing?
Well, you know, I would have to say the homeless issue is an issue. It's like if you ask any of the tenants, whether it's Walgreens or whether or not it's Dollar Tree or the supermarket, and I think Bob Garrison will have the same opinion because we have the same problems, is the factor that if they come into the store and they start to steal things off the shelf and so forth, that's one of the main reasons why businesses, corporate businesses, leave the area. They leave it because they can't keep the merchandise on the shelf. Even though there's security located inside the store, it's still a big problem. I think that, you know, and we're limited, and the PD is limited into what they can do with the homeless issue. They don't want to arrest them. They don't want to put them in the car, take them down, and within 20 minutes, they're back on the street. And they know that. So they're pretty brazen. So the only thing that I think is, from a security standpoint, basically from a police standpoint, is more presence. And the more presence and the more harassing, the more opportunity that we have as business people not to have that issue become a big issue. It's going to become it's an issue, but we want to try to limit it the best we can. So I would say that's the most important thing. I think the city council, city manager have to support the police department in any way they can. I don't know what they can do, but it used to be if you had an individual hanging around the shopping center, begging for change, harassing the women shoppers when they come in, that if you called the police, they would take the individual and do whatever is necessary, and they wouldn't come back. Now we don't even have that. So I don't know where that lies. I don't know whose responsibility it is to tighten up on that, but I think that's very important.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Garrison, I can't say Bob because then you both will answer. So we'll just go with last names.
Who had a fire? Was it Garrison or mine?
Garrison.
We did.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Bob.
And that fire, we had a fire in the exact same spot last week. So it's, I would echo, you know, what Mr. Berger and the gentleman at Walmart said. The homeless problem it's out of control. It's absolutely out of control. And if you polled 100 businesses, retail businesses, my guess would be, you know, 95% of those would say the homeless problem is homeless and theft is the two problems that affect their business the most. And they are becoming much more aggressive and brazen. We've had our security guards attacked recently, you know, behind Century Plaza, along the railroad tracks. There's a town that it's its own little ecosystem there, and I know that's kind of no man's land because it's a railroad easement, and that's where the city of Antioch and Pittsburgh meet. But the homeless behind there, I mean, they have structures that are built with doors and windows, and pit bulls and so it is unsafe. I mean, the people that live back there are very, very aggressive, and they come into the center and they're very aggressive with the customers and the tenants and the employees of the tenants. And Mr. Berger's right. At some point, you know, these businesses will have to make tough decisions whether they're going to continue to do business here or not. And we, you know, Party City left Century Plaza. The main reason they left was because of theft, that they could not get it under control. Target has a very, very high theft rate as a percentage of sales. My guess is Walmart's probably very similar. So I know that the laws are what they are, and we have to work within the scope of the laws, but we've got to have, Pittsburgh doesn't have the sales, unfortunately, that some other cities have, like Walnut Creek or even Brentwood. And so when your sales are mediocre, and then your theft is so high, it makes it really, really tough to turn a profit and keep a business viable in a market like this.
Bob, are you
Thank
seeing
you.
any thefts from what I call regular people? Because I know in Brentwood,
Oh yeah,
that's what's on the rise. In fact, I witnessed it the other day. So a kid, what I would say is a kid or a teenager or a 20-something-year-old was just picked up boxes, and he was dressed as a Target employee and just went out the back door exit. And they said that's happening almost daily all of a sudden.
it happens all day, every day. It's not just the homeless that are stealing. That's absolutely true. It's not just the homeless. These people know that they can steal up to $950 worth of merchandise, and it's a misdemeanor. And so most retailers don't even try to stop the theft from happening. Some do. Target does try, and they're doing their best. A lot of retailers have a no stop policy. They don't even try to stop you from walking out the door with the merchandise. So you have, you know, these rings that will go in and stuff their shopping carts full of whatever and just walk out. And so it's not just the homeless. The homeless definitely are part of that theft problem, but it's the theft in the area it's really, really bad.
Yeah. And I wish we had invited some smaller businesses to be part of this kind of a sample set. I wish they were here, but I believe that they would probably share similar items. I know one item that comes up on the smaller side that's not so much on the large strip center or the large retailers is just navigating city hall type questions or concerns, but theft and dealing with those that are homeless and the escalation and how aggressive they are is definitely a common thread. So at this point, wanted you kind of for Holland and Garrett and Tony, kind of hearing kind of these general themes, what follow-up questions or data would you like to see that might help with a more fuller discussion or help with, you know, evaluating policy or just, you know, to help you? I know Holland, you and I kind of like our data and reports. So what types of information would help you that our business community maybe could provide?
Maybe I'll let the vice mayor, if he wants to say anything first, otherwise I'll jump in. Okay. Sort of what I asked, you know, as we look at things to increase police presence, frankly, understanding when are those hours important, hearing 4 p.m. to midnight in the case of Walmart, is a huge issue. Understanding, those blocks of time where we can make a concerted effort. And maybe it could be something as dramatic as, we pay overtime of an officer for that 8-hour shift from 4 p.m. to midnight for several months. And that person is at that shopping center and really trying to stop that activity or make it safer for the employees, especially, and the customers. Does that work? Or what else do we have to do? No one likes excuses, but boy, we are really hamstrung with the homeless. It really has become a challenge that communities are really not sure how to handle because they understand their rights better than we understand them. And as soon as we approach them wanting to move them along or break up an encampment, they start citing what their rights are. And if we do that, we are violating, and they've got an advocate attorney that comes by every day and will then sue the city. And so it becomes very frustrating from our end, because then you end up with these places, that Bob was mentioning. And as I'm talking with different folks at the railroad saying, how do we get some of this cleaned up on your side? Now, again, we know what's going to happen. They're going to go to Antioch or Pittsburgh right after we clean up that encampment, and then we'll be pushing them along. But it is not something that has a simple or easy answer, but I think there are some things we can do, like increase some of the presence in these shopping centers.
Garrett, this is probably going to be a silly question, but I know the Motel 6 is available for them. Is that full?
It's 91% occupied, last time I heard. And it's also, they have that for the highest risk category of homeless individuals right now that are highest risk for COVID. So if they have certain conditions, that's where they're putting them. The county has shut down several other facilities that used to house the homeless because of COVID. So that caused a different kind of demand issue by them closing those facilities.
Well, and that doesn't mean they won't leave the motel and still go steal either.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah. But
Also, I would imagine that in order for them to be able to go to the motel, they have to follow certain rules, and the people that are on the streets, for the most part, and I'm generalizing, but in my experience with PD, the people that are chronically homeless, they don't necessarily want to be at a shelter.
They refuse services.
They don't get keys. So, somebody with the county's opening each hotel room. So when they leave, they have to go back and check in. So this is how the county monitors who's going in and out of Motel 6 or the former Motel 6. A lot of their stuff they can't bring because they're trying to make sure they don't have bed bugs and everything else brought into the hotel. Pets can be a challenge as well. Many people don't want to leave their pets. Or what we've even had a situation where it may be a couple and one is qualified for Motel 6, the other isn't. And so, yes, go ahead.
And they won't put them both in the same room?
Nope.
Someone's not qualified.
Yeah. Not qualified, then both will sometimes not go.
As the city, hearing all of this, the homeless issue, we can talk about it a lot. But I'd like to know, is there ever been a study in terms of what the demographics of the homeless situation is in Pittsburgh? Are they professional homeless? Are they individuals that need a break, maybe a job, maybe something to get them out of that? But I don't think we've ever spent any money, and that's what it takes all the time. It all boils down to that, to have someone do a study on, what's in garrison centers, what kind of homeless. I'm sure it's the same ones that are in mine. What are they? Who are they? What their names are? What the problem is, and see if we can tackle it from that standpoint. $950 to steal and not have any repercussions makes absolutely no sense to me. That's just feeding the baby, feeding it. big time. So, you know, that kind of situation, where did that legislation come from?
Prop 47.
Huh?
The voters of California approved it.
Well, what that figures. But anyway, situation being is that, you know, okay, if that's it, then, you know, we need to find out a little bit about some of these people if we can, and get a handle on it as of to, you know, how we're going to handle it. Maybe the police department needs to have a special unit, and I don't know if they do or not, just involved with this homeless situation, because obviously it's one of the biggest problems.
You're 100% correct. There is a dedicated group of police officers that deal with this. Tony's already nodding her head. And they do know most of the, what I'll call Pittsburgh homeless. You know, they have a very good idea. Same with the county. And we work closely with the county on that. So yes, we have a pretty good idea of who they are and some of the resources. One of these meetings, it would be great. We can bring our staff to this to explain a little bit more what they deal with and what they can and can't do, which I think would help for some of you all to understand.
I could arrange for that to happen. Yes, that we do have a team, a homeless outreach team, and also we work closely with the county that has a medical staff also, so if they have medical needs for mental health. So we are trying to help, but as stated before, there's a lot of people out there that don't want the help. There are homeless on the street that do receive a check, that have money, but they prefer to be homeless. So we're trying at all with utilizing all our resources also too, but this is a big problem. And it's not only in the city of Pittsburgh, it is in Brentwood, it is in Oakley, it's Contra Costa County wide, state, California, every right. State has it. So we're just not the exception to the rule also. And speaking on Walgreens in your area, I know after our last meeting, Bob, in front of Walgreens, our officers at night, because they see there's a lot of things going on right there, and Walgreens is calling all the time in regards to petty theft and shoplifting. So she does make a presence there. She takes her lunch right there in front of Walgreens, and she does have a rapport with them. So I just want you to know that they're in your parking lot also.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I think, and I don't think anybody, you know, from the different shopping centers, Walmart is saying, you know, this is a Pittsburgh only problem, and what are you guys going to do about it? I mean, we all see the news. We know that it's bigger than our city, but we just have influence in our city, and that's what we're focusing on. So, you know, what can we do here, and trying to come up with some solutions that, you know, they may become models for county or state, but, you know, we can't keep having what we're having, because businesses are going to bail and people are going to get frustrated. So what can we do? And that's why trying to prepare for this next meeting, you know, giving an opportunity for people to ask questions so they can come back, you know, next week with either answers or, you know, just how do we move that needle? So I don't know, Holland, if there's any ideas, comments, thoughts that are running through your head right now, or what questions have not been asked that you would need answers to, or.
Yeah, well, you already know, Wolfgang, there's quite a bit running through my mind.
Yeah,
I would love an opportunity to touch base with Garrett offline, because some of these ideas may not be actionable. But I guess the essence of what I really want to know is what we can do to reduce theft and violent homeless crime, right? I understand that our hands are tied at the county and state level, but there must be something that we can do here. And if so, what is it? Because I think for the past 2 years, we've been dancing around what we know to be the issue, what we see the symptoms to be, but I haven't seen a resolve yet. And so I'm really interested in just kind of understanding what that is. I get an increased police presence, but are there things that we should be doing from a messaging perspective to help hold people accountable, because if you think you can go into a store and steal $900 worth of merchandise, number one, I don't think that person is homeless. I think that person is very clear about what they're doing, and they may just be a professional theft. But what are we doing to minimize that? What tools do we have in our tool belt to curb that? And I guess I'll ask Garrett that question. Are you aware of any other cities that are kind of stepping in front in the state and taking the lead on that?
I haven't heard on the solution side. I've more heard about the lamenting side on what do we do. That's more the common refrain, because other than, a surge mentality of we will put almost a police officer at every corner kind of approach, it is very limiting because the criminals understand the rules better than everyone else. And they know what they can push and how far they can push it. And, we can, and it was pointed out, we can arrest somebody, but we know they're going to be back in an hour. Because as soon as you take them over to the county jail, not only because of COVID, but just in general, they're just going to release them back out. So what you're at least doing is, I guess, making them go to Martinez and get an Uber ride back to Pittsburgh. But, it is a very large challenge that has not many easy answers to it.
Tony, go ahead, Bob.
I was just curious if pre-COVID, I thought I read about certain California cities that had passed like no camping ordinances. I think Brentwood was considering it. Has Pittsburgh kicked that idea around to try to get a grasp on the homeless encampment issue?
Yes, we did look at that, and let me find out where that is.
I thought we did pass that.
We did, but I thought there was some
Okay.
concerns with some other constitutionality issues. So, the state moves in mysterious ways.
That's for sure. All right, so kind of know the main issues, and some questions have been thrown out there. What I would like to ask for PD City, here comes Mayor. Awesome. Let's see. Good afternoon, Mayor. Thank you for coming this afternoon. Appreciate it. I know you got a lot of things on your schedule, so thank you for carving out some time for us. To catch you up, and we were recording this, and I'll send the video so you can watch all of it. But basically, we're kind of preparing for next week when we have our larger Business Watch group, and just kind of flipping the tables, and rather than businesses questioning and complaining and all that, we're going to have city staff, police, and city council opportunity for them to ask the questions and kind of put the businesses on the hot seat panelist side, and do things kind of differently in hopes that we can have a discussion that brings out maybe some solutions or ideas on how we can address some of the topics. We have with us today Bob Garrison, Bob Berger, and then Ms. Gaskin, who's representing Walmart. And the two main topics that are issues that are coming up is the shoplifting and the more increased level of aggressiveness that some of the homeless are displaying in attacking employees and security guards. And obviously it's not everybody who's homeless is violent, but it just seems to be more violence in some of those who are unhoused here in Pittsburgh. And so some of the questions that have already been asked are, what time frames are we seeing this increased activity? And then also a study of the demographics of those that are homeless, and who are we dealing with? And then Holland kind of brought up, you know, what are other cities doing, or are we aware of anybody that has tried some solutions and that we could learn from? And that's kind of where we are at the point in this conversation. So give you the opportunity. I don't know. Oh, go ahead.
Let me add one more thing. It just crossed my mind. I think it's important. And since the mayor is on the line, I think it's important that we're really shackled. And I mean, really shackled in terms of what we can do from an enforcement standpoint, from somebody stealing rightfully, whether that they're homeless or not. And I agree that they all know their rights. We need a public relations program in a way that says about Pittsburgh that if you're caught, we're going to do all we can to put you in jail. Now, I don't know if that's going to work, but we can all sit back here for days and talk about it. But maybe we get the word out. And believe me, these people read. And like Bob was saying, and other people were saying, they know more than we do. Maybe we should be on the other opposite side and say, listen, we're going to be tough here in Pittsburgh, and we're going to do all we can to the extent of the law, to if you steal something, if you graffiti something, if you don't obey the rules of private property, we're going to move as hard as we can to make it right and to justify it for the property owners that spend a lot of money. Believe me, I spend a lot of money on security, private security, and also the police. And the police are also spending a lot of money on this. So I believe it's one of the most important things that the city of Pittsburgh should deal with.
Thank you for sharing that. So, Mayor, I don't know if there's questions that you may have for the group that, because the whole point of today is to kind of prepare and, you know, if there's questions that you could ask of the business community, that way when we meet again next week, we can, you know, have answers or just, you know, to help further, you know, the discussion and help move the needle in regards to trying to address some of these issues in a effective but also humanistic way.
One of the things I jotted down that the two areas that you were most focused on was shoplifting and homeless. And then one of the third one is also the loitering and the overnight camping, that sort of thing. And that's a big issue. And I was wondering how many of the property owners have no overnight parking posted in the parking lots. And I know that it was about 2 years ago, I think, Wolfgang, you and I had gone to one of the meetings with the merchants over in not Atlantic Plaza, but the one across right next to Small World Park.
Granite Expo. Mm-hmm.
Right. And that was a big issue. And I know at that time we had talked about posting of signs or whatever. And I think the only one who had something posted was Granite Expo, and they had their lot kind of blocked off in the back where they were having issues or problems. And then it was because that collectively, that's not one ownership and it's individual ownerships over there. That's why it was more of a problem there. And so I guess my question is, on the ones who are having this type of problem, have you thought about the overnight, parking? Because that's a big issue, because we can't enforce. And I know that was one of the conversations that came from the police departments, that we could not enforce it because there's nothing that says publicly that you can't, and you have to have the cooperation of the businesses.
Very good. Bob Garrison, Bob Berger, Walmart, do you know if you have that?
We have the signage that is required by law that gives us the right to, tow vehicles that are parked there overnight or aren't there to do business at the center.
Okay. And so
the other question I is why in the city of Pittsburgh is the bus stops a private area for homeless to sit. Is that an ordinance? Because my security guard, which is a mobile unit, same one Bob Garrettson uses, tells me that the homeless gather for, I guess, a conference at the bus stops. And when they're asked to move, they say, no, we're waiting for a bus. They're not waiting for a bus. 3 hours later, they're still there. So it becomes a gathering spot. I made the mistake is when I built the bus stop, I put a cover on it. So when it gets hot in Pittsburgh, it makes a very nice covered place for them to stay. And so I'm just wondering, why can't we enforce something like that? The bus stop is not a place to sit, drink, do drugs, and then when the police come or someone else comes, but my security, oh no, I'm waiting for a bus, and then they drive off.
Right. I also sit on the board for Tri-Delta Transit, and that's one of the issues that not just Pittsburgh, but the other cities face as well. And so actually, it would be nice to have that complaint come, because then what happens is they have their own security that comes out that looks at these things. And I know that about 2 years ago, maybe 3, we removed some of the stops because of that reason. And they were more of a nuisance than they were anything else. And then they come out and they do a study to determine what best could happen there. So it may be where it's just a bench or just a stop sign itself, and with the with the information for the bus stop, and not necessarily the benches or whatever. The other thing that happens is that once you remove that, you have to remember, because you have handicap, you have, different things, you have to keep that in mind. And so that's why it has to go through a study. But that's one of the things, once you send that into Tri-Delta, they will have their supervisors go out and then they will do a study of that area. And then it comes back to see what could happen, determination about what could happen.
What is the process to submit a complaint or submit an issue to Tri-Delta?
You could submit it directly to Tri-Delta Transit, to the board of directors, or to Jeannie Krieg, who is the CEO.
Okay, awesome. And then I know, go ahead.
Bob, that's a real issue, because there's a lot of elderly people that wait at the bus stop, and they're harassed, and they're afraid to go there. So it's a real issue that we take a look at. And Delta Transit doesn't want to take their bus time down, because obviously it's a convenience for them. But
well, actually, you can't just take it down, and that's the reason. And so it has to go through the transit board, CCTA, and there's more above Tri-Delta. Okay. And so it's not like they could just go out and take it down. That's why the study has to be done. And then they have to send into the transit board, which is CCTA, which does Concord, Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, Antioch, our Tri-Delta system plus the other systems. And so it's not like it's just one.
Rachel, do you have
1 second, Wolf? Bob, also you were speaking about the one that's right there in front of Rice and Wine Liquor and Park.
Yeah.
And that is a problem area, and our officers have spoke with Rice and Wine also to not sell the singles to those individuals, because they're belligerent drunk by time our officers get to them. So that's another thing. If you could have your tenants be, comply also, so that it's on both, so that everybody's helping everyone out in that situation also.
Let me tell you the answer to that, and I've done it. The answer to that is they're smart enough, they send someone else in there to buy their liquor for them. So, and they don't know them. But your point is well taken, and we'll see if we can tighten that up. Yes.
So Rachel, are you aware of, in regards to the no parking signs and no overnight camping, does Walmart have that in that shopping center?
I don't know if they have something specific that says no overnight parking, but I can get something going for that. For sure, I'll talk to my store manager tomorrow when he comes in about it.
Right, because I think Walmart is in a similar situation as the Granite Expo, where it's multiple property
Yes.
owners together and everybody's got to agree on it.
Right.
Exactly.
But I believe Walmart, if anything happens in the parking lot, Walmart's the business that, you know, takes care of it. Like you wouldn't go to Popeyes for like anything like that. It'd be Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I do agree with more police presence though. I mean, we used to have like a police car parked out front, you know, sometimes that helps. And I know Martinez Walmart used to have like a police station in their store. So I don't know if that's like an option for us to maybe do that in the future.
We've been kicking around different ideas with the city about what we could do with Walmart, because that is a mainstay here for Pittsburgh. And I know that we don't have a definite answer, but I know that has come up in conversation with our city manager and some of our other key staff members. And so we are definitely, that is on our radar as to what we can do. So I just want you to know that.
Yeah, I mean, we have like inside security, we have outside security, but they're really limited on what they can even do. So it doesn't really help us.
Okay.
And maybe another data point that could be asked, or when we come back in a week to our centers, is how many calls are you making to the tow trucks for overnight parking? Like how, you know, this is a data point so we know how many we have, or, you know, what's going on as far as numbers that we're dealing with. That might be helpful as well. And then maybe if we can get it by day and time frame so that we can kind of see those hot periods that, okay, the weekends are maybe when we get the most, or maybe it's Monday mornings, or because as we know, a lot of these issues are symptoms, they're not the real problem. And so the more we can get to what's the actual problem, and we know the biggest problem is that there just aren't enough services for those that are unhoused. And that's obviously a much larger discussion, but, you know, I'm sure there's things that we can do here, you know, collectively to try to address that. But I think the more data, the better. So maybe if we could have, I don't know which tow companies you're all using, but maybe if they could submit a report or just how many calls they got, or, you know, something that might help city staff and council.
And one of the other things that we're working on with City of Antioch and with the mayor is that a lot of people don't understand the boundaries Pittsburgh Antioch. And so we're trying to work jointly. So I don't know if you've been around the Century Boulevard area where you see them move from one area to another area, is because we, right underneath the underpass, that's actually Pittsburgh. To the right, across from the college, that's Antioch. To the left is Pittsburgh. Once you turn the corner, then we're on Sino's property, so that's Pittsburgh. But the problem is that during December, we were working on that. And so once we identified what area they were on, so working with the City of Antioch, we were able to get them to come in and tag them so that they moved. So they were right across the street from the college. And we had a whole community there of mobile homes that was there. And so they moved. And then they moved up under the bridge, which is Pittsburgh. And so then we came in after that and we got them moved. And so they're playing this game where they're just moving from what other, so we are trying to do a joint, and that's what we're working on. Lamar and I, the mayor of Antioch, is trying to see how we can combine those things. So we do one at the same time with Pittsburgh Police and Antioch PD to tag those vehicles or whatever at the same time, so they understand that you're here, or whatever, that this is still Pittsburgh Antioch and we are not going to have you in these areas, but it's not going to be just a Pittsburgh thing. It's going to be an Antioch, Pittsburgh. You know, we're going to have to combine for these things because they leave one area when they're run out and they come to another area. So they're just bouncing back between Pittsburgh and Antioch. And if you notice, most of it is between Loveridge and, you know, Pittsburgh Antioch Highway, Leland, you know, and there. And that's because those are straight routes, Pittsburgh Antioch.
So are there any other, from PD, city staff and city council, any other questions that you have for this group that might help with a further discussion, or that they could come back with the research or data or suggestions or ideas?
I do have one question. Let's say someone does steal something from Walmart. What is the procedure?
We do have inside asset protection people, and usually they'll just, it depends on like how much it is, but they'll just take them to the office, have them fill out some paperwork, and then they just leave.
So you're not reporting that to Pittsburgh PD?
I'm not sure what the AP manager is doing on that. He's not here today. I was going to have him sit on the call, but he was not here today for that. I can give those answers though.
Okay, that would be great. And then Tony, if you can speak to this, if someone calls to report a petty theft, what does PD do?
They'll respond. Usually it's the loss prevention that's calling them to report, and it's usually at Walmart or Target and Walgreens. Our officers are trying to make their rounds through all the shopping centers, and they report at every shift if they were able, if they made any contact. But if they are arrested, taken to the station, and their site released because of that. It's considered a misdemeanor unless it's a felony. Then that's when they're taken over to Martinez and booked into the county jail.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, right now, they're not booking anyone into the county jail, especially if it's theft or anything like that. Because of COVID, they're not. And that's the reason we had that one spree with the guy breaking the windows and everything else. And because, again, they are not it's not our police department. It is Martinez, and it is the county jail system where it is not safe right now. So they are not bringing people in to the population, because you have those that have longer terms in the population. So you're not going to bring somebody that's coming in and out because of COVID. And we've been told that. And that's one of the conversations that was at mayor's conference, and also with a lot of the different agencies. That's one of the problems right now as well.
Yes.
Garrett, any other questions or?
No, I actually do appreciate understanding some of the time frames that were brought up and challenges, because this helps me sit down with the chief and others and hopefully come back with more answers, or go to the council for the mid-year budget with some potential other programs that we could put in place starting in March.
Okay. Does anybody have any, Bob, or Rachel, any last things?
One other thing. There's nothing more frustrating to a manager of a corporate entity than to feel like he's talking and it's going on deaf ears. We have a real problem here. We're not going to solve it overnight. What I'd like to do, if it's possible, is I'd like to see the city of Pittsburgh have a person call on the larger retailers like the Walgreens, the Dollar Tree, the Market, and tell them that we are doing something about it. And we're not just standing back and saying we can't do anything, but make them feel like, sometimes a call from someone representing the city of Pittsburgh and somebody representing the police department, that we're trying to do the best we can, maybe with a brochure or something that we're discussing that the chamber can develop, and it would help a lot. It would really help a lot because when they talk to their bosses, when the Walgreens regional people come around and the guy says, well, you know, I'm this and that, and I got this problem, and we got a shoplifter, and we got this with nothing we can do. It would be good for him to, or her, whoever the manager is at that particular time, to say, well, the city and the police department in Pittsburgh are doing the best they can to rectify the situation. Because I'm sure they hear the same thing in Antioch, and I'm sure they hear the same thing in Brentwood. So we have to be aggressive, not to wind up one day and find that the store is closing because of high level of theft. So I think we need to move on that. And at our next meeting, let's see if we can get something generated where there would be an individual from the city directed to go to the, and we can list them out. Probably they should go to Walmart and the other larger stores and tell them that, you know, we're doing this and working our way through it.
And to respond to that, I agree on the outreach part. I know the city does because they've partnered with the chamber doing business walks and whatnot. One issue we've run into is making contact with the actual managers, because, you know, everybody's busy or it's their day off, or, you know, not necessarily having their contact info, and the employees are reluctant to release, you know, contact information. So as the landlords, if you could please let the businesses know of these meetings, that, you know, they are welcome. We reach out as a chamber to as many of that we can and invite everybody. This one is a special meeting because it's more of like a planning preparation meeting. But when we have our third Thursday of the month meeting, it is for every single business, from home-based business all the way to 1,000 employee businesses. And we do want to have, you know, everybody there. So please, when we send the invites out, you know, pass it along to your rent roll, and, you know, highly encourage them. Say, hey, you know, you have needs, you have concerns, you come to me all the time. This is the group that's trying to move the needle, and we have representatives from every part of the city to try to work collectively to make this happen. So we can do that, because I know that the city they are definitely reaching out to businesses. I've worked with Colette and Jordan doing business walks, and the city has adopted a new, maybe Garrett can talk to this, but a new communication tool specifically for the business community. But a lot of times we don't have, you know, a manager changes, or, you know, something changes, so the contact information we have is not always up to date on these larger corporate entities.
I think that's a great point, both Bob and Wolf. And what I'll do is I'll make sure that Jordan, the Economic Development Director, is on this going forward. So that way he can walk you through what he's what he's doing, what programs are out there. And then I think you're spot on. We need to do a better outreach on what is available and what to do with the business community.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, I try to look at the positives to COVID, and one positive is using these tech tools for hosting meetings, and allows us to accommodate more people with different schedules and, you know, record them. So that's one thing the chamber is going to do, is making these, you know, accessible, but really trying to get, because I've heard it, you know, businesses that are woe is me, but then when opportunities are provided to them for some help, well, I'm too busy, or I can't. And it's like, well, what do you want? You know, it's like groups are trying, but, you know, it's hard. So I know for, you know, both Bob and Bob, you're consistently the only two property managers / landlords that attend these meetings. And a lot of the properties that I think are more problematic, their representatives never come to the table to offer help or suggestions. So yeah.
Why is that? Why is that?
Honestly, I'll give my professional opinion. We have some slumlords in this town.
Yeah.
I know I've done my best to try to get some of them to sell and get out, because I've done two deals where I did not take any commission, just because my reward was getting them out of town. You know, and that's the honest truth. There's some very not so good property owners that don't have any pride in their property, and don't care about Pittsburgh as long as they get their rent. And that's the honest truth.
They may not get their rent if the tenant moves
Well,
out.
that's well, then the problem is then they put in less desirable tenants, and then we have
Yeah.
even more problems. But that's a different meeting.
I-
So
Oh,
go
I
ahead.
had just one suggestion, Wolf, and
Yes.
I don't know if the Business Watch, the chamber would be the best entity to do this. I think maybe it'd be Pittsburgh PD, because I don't know if the retailers would want to necessarily share this information with everyone, but I think we should identify, whether it's the biggest 20 retailers in terms of sales tax revenue, and go to them and see what their shrinkage rate is. And so that we have something to measure, what we're doing by. We a couple of years ago, just through our relationship with Target, found out that their shrink rate was through the roof. It was embarrassing, and we had no idea it was that bad. And it's like, going back to what I was saying before, it's because it's not because their theft is all that much higher than the theft in Walnut Creek or Concord or Brentwood, but their sales are less, and so their theft as a percentage of sales is quite high. I guess it's like that in a lot of the retailers in Pittsburgh. But I think if we could get kind of a feel of what those rates are for the top 20 retailers in Pittsburgh, and then maybe on a quarterly basis or a semi-annual basis, be able to go back and check and see how those are doing. Like I said, I don't know if they would share that openly with everyone, but I think the city of Pittsburgh or the Pittsburgh PD, they probably would, especially if it was presented as a way to try to help them and identify, the areas that are having the highest or the most problems.
So if I understand correctly, use that as like a key performance indicator for this group, so that we can use that as, are we moving the needle or not, and using shrinkage rate as one of those indicators.
Yeah, it definitely should. I think would be one of the main indicators.
I think, Bob, you raise a really great point. And even to piggyback on that, this may be a conversation for another time, but, as we look at shrinkage next to sales, you also look at the quality of the shopping experience. And I know you've heard this time and time again. Some of our retailers are just not the same quality shopping experience that you would find in other cities. And so that shrinkage has a much larger impact on the success of that business. And so if there's anything that, we could do as a community, even as we take pride in our retailers, how we reinforce, that feeling of pride that we feel that they should be taking in our community. If there's anything that we can do to improve relations on that front, I do think it's very, very important, because I know a lot of people who drive past Target to go to another Target because the shopping experience is very different. And the same is for Walgreens and Walmart. And this issue far surpasses just homeless people sitting outside.
Bob?
Yeah, no, it does.
Hey, I can let you know that our shrinkage last year was like 30% of our sales. It's a lot.
Wow.
30?
Yes, 30%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. And I did get an answer on when our AP for our petty theft, they don't call the police every time we have a petty theft. They'll only call PPD if the person refuses to leave or if they get violent. So my question is, do you want us calling PD every time we have a petty theft or not?
Yes.
Okay. And I also asked my AP people just to keep a log for themselves every time they call, like date, time, and whatever it was for.
That'll be great.
Rachel, do you happen to know what the national average is for shrinkage? No.
No, not the national. I don't know.
Okay.
30% is astronomical. I'm not sure what the average Walmart is, but
Bob, was Target higher than that?
no, Target was not. I'm trying to look, that was a couple years ago that we got that info. I'll find that out and I'll send that to you, Holland, but that's alarming.
Yeah, I can just tell you, this store last year, we shrunk out $1.3 million, and 30% of that was from theft. Other stuff is like, missed ships or something not being accounted for or something like that. But 30% of the 1.3 million was theft.
Wow.
I'd just like to ask
Okay.
Walmart a question. What kind of security do you have inside the store? Is it by the front door, or are they roving, or what?
So we have, we always have at least anywhere from 2 to 4 people at the front door. We have 4 inside asset protection associates. And then we have our outside security company, Brosnan.
And you still have that much shrinkage?
Yes, because they're very limited on what they can do. They can only tell the person to leave, but they don't always listen to what we tell them to do. When our outside security tells all the cars in the parking lot, hey, you can't park here, they threaten them, or they say F off, or they just refuse to leave.
Is it the same person or a multitude?
It's multiple people. And like you guys said, it's not just homeless people. It's just like, it looks like a
Professionals.
chop shop. Yes.
Yeah, they resell. I mean, it's Hayward,
yeah.
or not Hayward. Hercules just had that huge thing with Home Depot where it was. I mean, they open up their own. It's almost like an outlet store where they steal so much and sell it. Well,
I looked up from my correspondence with Target. The average Target is about between 1.5 and 1.7 as a percentage of sales. And a few years ago, Target got close to 7. So just some perspective. On the 30%, when you're saying 30%, you're saying that theft is 30% of the shrinkage, right?
Correct. Yes.
But do you know what the shrinkage is as a percentage of sales?
I think last year it was in the 2% range, maybe like 1.9%.
I think that's not bad.
Okay. I was saying 30%. Holy cow.
And it says the national average is 1.62%.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, great. I want to honor everybody's time. I really want to thank everybody for coming today. I think we have some good initial input questions, and there's some follow-up items in preparation for next week. And so I just, the goal today again was making sure that we kind of had this conversation so it wasn't, somebody asks a question and the other person's like, I got to get back to you on that. It gives us time to kind of think and prepare, but also wanting to really, keep the conversation going, because there are things that we can do. And it's carrot versus a stick, right? And, getting away from using, quality of life crimes, because everybody's lives are just as important. But what can we do to improve consumer experience? Holland talked about just the shopping experience outside of shoplifting and all that, but just certain retailers treat communities differently than other communities. That's just blatant, right? And of course that goes down to sales volume and all that. But what can we do? And we don't always have to use the stick to fix problems, and hoping that this group, we can get some working solutions using everybody's resources and connections to try to address that. Because I know that the council is always prided themselves on leading the way and being examples to other cities. And I think that we can do that in this arena as well. And we're really excited to have everybody. And next week, we're going to have small business, professional services, et cetera, to kind of give more depth. But we wanted to bring it together, a sample today, just so that everybody can prepare. And again, the format will be businesses will be the panelists kind of in the hot seat, PD, city staff, city officials, And if there's, to Holland and to Merle, if there's people at the county level that you think could help in these conversations that are either elected or not, they're more than welcome to attend as well. We'd love to have them so that we can, figure out the answers to the questions that we all have. So with that, if nobody has anything else, I just want to thank everybody, and we will see everybody next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Wolf, are you staying on?
Yes. Well, I thought that went pretty well. She showed up. Let me stop recording.